It is written in the Bible in John 16:33, and Jesus said that in life we will have much afflictions, but for us to be of good cheer because he has won the battle, and with us, with him in our lives, we will win the battle of life too. And I just want to focus on people that's going through a lot of struggles, because I've seen with my own eyes people try to kill themselves because they can't take the pain no more. And if people around the world could take the pain that God helped me endure, they will see that better days will come. And in the end, it's written in Psalms 30 verse 5 that the cry will come in the nighttime, but happiness will come in the morning. Meaning that days of sadness will come, and it's gonna come, but better days will come. Just like the rain comes and then the sunshine will come out. And just like when you're in a tunnel, it's very dark, at the end there's light. So what I want to focus is trying to help people to know that better days will come in life, and just for them to believe in themselves and believe in God, that true success is having God in our lives and doing what must be done to be the person that God created us to be.
Amen. So why? Because when we had a conversation, you said you wanted to do an English version. Well, first of all, what's your feeling about our first meditation? Let me call it that. Like our first confession, if we can call it that. Our first conversation. How you feeling about the whole thing? What's the energy you're receiving from people? What's the feedback you getting from people? How you feeling at this point, a month after we did it? Like, what's your reading on that whole interview we did?
Well, to be honest with you, the 24th is gonna make it a month. It hasn't reached a month yet. Okay. And as of the moment, it's about 12,000 people around the world that's watching it. And I have personally received phone calls where people told me that they want it in English because they want to understand it. And my own family members all have seen it, and they have many friends that speak English that are saying they see my situation through my family, interpreting for them, but they want to hear it themselves instead of listening to other people. And personally, for like a week ago, I was in Palmarejo, and a guy stops me in his car. He comes to me and say, "Ain't I Roki?" I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "I saw your story, I loved it. You have helped me to change the way I look at things, and I used to point the finger at a lot of people. Now I don't do that no more." Then the guy told me if he could hug me because he needs a hug. So I hugged him at the moment, and he told me thank you for the hug. And he said, "I love watching you push your carrinho to make your money, to help your family." And it shows that in life, it doesn't matter what you do if it's positive, as long as you're doing it the right way to take care of yourself and your family. And he said, "You're gonna have a lot of success in life, and I wish you the best."
Yeah.
So all this gave me the strength, and nearly every day I watch the commentaries and I watch the video, and I'm seeing the numbers are pushing fast. And I said to myself, if the population of Cape Verde around the world is watching it, how far will it go if the population of English and other languages is being reached out to see it?
Wow, beautiful. And what is the purpose for those who are listening right now, for them to understand? What is the purpose? What's the reason behind you telling your life story? Because a lot of people they might not understand the reason. Some people might think you're just telling a story, or we're just looking for views and likes and things. But when somebody asks you, what is the reason? Because a lot of people are not comfortable enough to tell their life story, but you are brave enough to be sincere and honest telling your story. Tell them what motivates you every day, and what motivated you to sit down and say, I want to tell my life story.
Okay, first of all, my true motivation comes from God. And I have a strong faith through God. And nearly every day, the inner voice that we call the conscious voice speaks to me and tells me, you need to bring this forward. The world needs to know about you and your story, because it's going to help other people. And I was in prison, and I saw a lot of people try to kill themselves. And when I stopped them from killing themselves, I always asked them, why are you trying to kill yourself? And they always tell me that they're tired of life, that they're tired of the pain they go through. And I say to them, if you know what I went through, maybe you'll say, just let me hold on another day because better days will come. And to be honest with you, all I want to do is try to help other people, because ever since a little kid, I feel as though God put me in the world to be helpful to other people. And this is my main objective and motivation, to help people to try to find out that they can have a better life if they believe in themselves, if they believe in God, and that if they believe that their dreams could be achieved through fighting the good fight to get to where they want to, they will get there. But they need to understand that obstacles is always going to be a part of life, and what we need to do is not focus on the obstacles, but focus on our dreams, our goals, and asking God to give us the strength that we need. For instance, if we look at Jesus' story, there's no one in the world that passed all the afflictions that Jesus went through. But Jesus didn't focus on his obstacles. He didn't focus on the situations he was going through. He focused on the job that God gave him to do, and he had success. And in the end, he said, God, the job you gave me to do, I finished the job. And I ask you to forgive all the people that did me wrong. So this is my objective too.
Yes, beautiful. Again, I have this question. For those who are watching right now, they see you telling your story right now at the present moment, but they don't know your life story. And what we're doing is you telling your life story, your transformation, the changes, the phases you went through. Because they see this quiet man right now, meditating, just with a certain posture, just taking care of life and responsibilities. But it wasn't always like that, as you know, and you're gonna tell them the story. So now we're gonna go back in time and start just as we did in the other interview, and start from the beginning. Because it's important to understand the transformation. Because right now, you really inspired, like you said, you quoted biblical verses, you're speaking in terms of the Messiah, you're saying, so a lot of people don't understand the changes and the challenges you had in your life that got you here. So it's important for us to tell the different phases of your life. So we go from the beginning. When you were born, they named you Roki. Who's Roki? If you can introduce yourself in the easiest way and the most powerful way, who's Roki?
First of all, my name is Joaquim Pires, also known as Roki. But the name Roki came with time because of the actor Sylvester Stallone in a film. They gave him the name Rocky in a film that he did, from what I remember, Rocky 1 to Rocky 6. And when I was a little kid, I used to go through a lot of bullying in school, and I used to run from school to go home. And one day my uncle saw me running from other classmates that was bigger than me, that used to bully me and all. And one day he told me, put your bag down and just do what you have to do. Show that guy that from today on that you got the courage to show him that he's not gonna mess with you and take your things from you no more. And in the end, he made me fight the guy, and I won the guy. And after that, the name Rocky came.
So your life is full of challenges. You had a lot of bullies. You had to overcome bullies. In a lot of ways, the way your life turned out is really running away from bullies. And a lot of times you became the bully per se. So let's tell them the life story. So where are you from? How was your childhood? Tell us how it began.
First of all, I was born in the west coast of Africa, in the islands of Cape Verde, in an island known as Fogo. The island is named Fogo because it has a volcano. And I was born in 1973, January 24. And when I was born in the mountains, in the inner part of the island, which I didn't know my mother and I didn't know my father. And I grew up from the day I was born till about 8 years old. And I remember me being a little child that was put to do a lot of work. I could basically say work like Cinderella used to do. And I was living around a lot of animals. They used to make me carry like branches that you put on fire to cook food. make me watch the food. They used to go to church, they used to go to school, and they never put me to school. And this happened to me till I was about 7 years old. And sometimes I used to have so many lices in my head. I used to have fleas, and I used to have tapeworm all over my body, and it didn't help me to disinvolve as a little child. I remember my mother not being there because I didn't know my mother, I didn't know my father, and I had other people that used to take care of me, which was my aunt and my uncle. Eventually they went to America themselves. They left me with other people, and I had a sister that's from father and mother's side. We came in 1980, I remember it was about December. We went to America, and a new beginning, a new chapter started when I went to America.
Okay, before we start right there, let's rewind a little bit, because it's important for us to, for the masses, our people, to understand, whoever's listening right now, how was your childhood? Because a lot of people don't know how it is. In America, you have this privilege. You have an abundance of things, and they don't understand how hard it is for a child to grow up in the countryside of Fogo. So tell us a little bit about your childhood. You say you grew up around that village, if you can call it that, but I want you to be a little bit more graphic so they can understand how rough it was. You didn't go to school. Tell us how you felt and how it made you feel being around and seeing other kids going to school when you can't go to school. How did it make you feel not being around fun activities, doing things that kids do? Like, how was it?
Okay, first of all, I'll say like this. I didn't have toys to play with, and I had a little bird. In Creole, we call it chinchiroti. I played with it for about 2 weeks. It eventually died. It made me feel so sad after it died. And when I used to see kids go to school and go to church and do so many fun things, and me, I'm there at the house, it's like they put me there to make sure that I wash the things and carry things that's so heavy, way more than my age, to put on my head to bring home, to be able to cook food which was branches in Creole, lenha. And it made me feel sad that I didn't have a mother figure and a father figure to help me understand those part of years of life. And it was very sad for me. And I used to be a little kid that used to have a very sad face, and my face used to be like this every day. And the only thing I wanted was my mother and my father to be around, to show me the love, to be a part of my life, to help me to feel that I'm wanted and to be somebody. But unfortunately, I didn't have that.
Wow. And when you saw other kids going to school, I keep pushing this narrative because it's really important, because I went to school. I went to kindergarten. My parents took me to school. So I remember seeing kids that were never able to go to school, and the look in their eye. So in a way, through them, I'm asking you this question, because a lot of people are ignorant of this whole segment of the population of the world that really don't have the privilege that we enjoy. So how did it make you feel? Did it make you cry? Like, because when kids are sad, they run to their mother or their dad. When kids are bullying you, you run to your pops or your moms. Who was your confidant? Did you talk to anybody? Who did you, like, that whole trust issue? How did you deal with all these emotions as a child with all your questions? Like, where did you run to for help?
I didn't have to be honest with you, I love the question you just asked. I didn't have nobody to run to. I just kept it inside of me. And it made me feel each time more and more a sadder child. And eventually, sooner or later, when you hold things inside you, it's gonna make you become like a grenade, and you're gonna explode and do things. Like one day when I had the brother of my grandmother, he was bothering me and calling me names, and I was so sad. I didn't have nobody to go to take out the sadness that I had in me. And I remember I was about 6 years old at the time. I picked up a little rock, and I was very good at aiming at the time, and I threw it, and it hit his I don't remember how to say it in English, but in Creole, and I hit him with it, and it broke his leg. And when I see all these kids going to school, it made me feel unwanted. It made me feel not an important person. It made me feel sad. It made me feel like, what do I do? Why am I here? What's the purpose of life if nobody loves me? Nobody's showing me that they want me in their life. And me having all these problems with my body, the lices, the fleas, the tapeworms and everything else, and I'm living around animals and I'm being put to work doing things at my age that I'm supposed to be in school. Why is all this happening to me at this very young age? It's like it's not supposed to be, but why did it have to happen?
Wow. And your parents are alive. They're in America. Did you have any contact with your parents? How was it as a child? Did your mother used to call your dad?
At the time, like I said before, I didn't know my mother, I didn't know my father. I remember my father used to have 2 stores in Verde, right there in Pantone and Feijoal. And once in a while, I used to go to the store. He used to shake my head and say, go home, probably give me like a candy or something. But I can't even put my 2 together because my father was a married man and my mother was his mistress. So my mother, she was a country woman herself. And what I can say is that throughout this whole situation, I wanted them to be there, but they wasn't there for me. And I just wanted to have somebody to show me the love that nobody was showing me. And I just wanted to be felt important, just like I see all the other kids have their mother and father hug them, give them presents, bring them to places. Why can't I have these things? Why can't I go to these places? Why can I not do these things that other children are doing? Why has it have to be me to be there to watch the animals, to feed the animals, to carry things that's beyond my age to be carrying? Why me?
Wow. And all that's where your frustration, if we can call it that, began. Because we don't understand, and they will get it. Whoever's watching right now will get the gist of your whole development. Because it's really important to listen carefully to your words and understand the process, how you ended up being or becoming the man that you ended up, being due to many levels of neglect there. Because we're not trying to victimize your story right now. We're not trying to be over sympathetic, but we're telling facts. Because a lot of times we see people, we don't listen, we don't know their story. So we come up with ideas, preconceived ideas, notion of things. So we think we know based on our lack of knowledge. So this is an opportunity for someone to really stop, look and listen and learn and understand. If you don't know somebody like Roki, they don't know, never heard of a story like this, understand how we are transformed, how we are shaped due to neglect as children. Everything we do to children right now will, in so many levels, change their, our perception of the world as adults. So you said from all this abandonment issues as a kid, none of your parents are present. You're being raised with relatives under these, we can say, horrible circumstances, conditions, utter poverty, extreme poverty, and yet you still have to maintain a level of sanity. You still have to be a kid. And I don't want to keep asking the same question, but it's really heavy. How did you go from that situation to going to America so they can understand your transition? How did that happen?
Well, from what I know, I came to find out not too many years ago that my father, through him having the 2 stores, and the fact that his mother and father had lands that used to give a lot of money through agriculture, that he was the one that put me and my sister in America. So I went to America, and I remember it was a winter time. It was 1980, and it was in December. And when we got there, I remember it was so cold, and I went to my grandfather's house, which was on 15 and 13 on Wendover Street. And my mother was living on the 3rd floor. Out here we call it Segunda Andar. And I remember the day I got there, I got a hug so special from my mother. That's when I began to feel what love meant to a child. And I looked at my mother and I saw that she was a beautiful woman. And I started seeing these things around her. And it was things that showed that she was living a difficult life, but it was way better than the life that me and my sister had while we was in Cape Verde. And that very day, I remember she saw me scratching my head. It was from having so many lice, fleas, and tapeworm. She started sitting me down and started killing all of them. And eventually, I thank God she put medicine on my head and took all that, them fleas, tapeworm, and lices from me. And I began to feel differently. And that's where I started seeing that I had a mother, and she started showing me the love, and she started showing my sister the love that we was always looking for, but that wasn't there.
Wow. But first thing you said, you noticed your mother was a beautiful woman, but she had certain issues or the situation. You come from poverty, from Fogo, you get to America, and your mother's living under similar circumstances in America. She's in America, obviously. Better circumstances than what she was living in Fogo, for sure. But tell us the impact they had. Like when you get there, if you can kind of tell us how, because somebody in the last interview, I made a comment about Dorchester being somewhat of a poor neighborhood, if we could call it that, a poor city compared to other areas of around Boston, the wealthy areas. You know what I mean? Somebody was kind of laughing like, what do you mean Dorchester's poor? For a lot of people to understand, again, how your neighborhood, your surroundings kind of will have an impact, how that will guide you through the motions of life, the many things, the many choices you made in your life. So it's important. How was it, that family environment when you get there? There's no father, there's a mother, but tell us how it began in America for you.
Okay, first of all, when I got there, I started going to my aunt's house because my grandfather had a 6-apartment house. 3 floors on one side, 3 on the other side, like I said, on 13 and 15 on Windover Street. And I used to go to my aunt's house and I used to see a big difference between her having a fridge, her having better food, her having all types of things that a person deserves in life. But when you come to my mother, for instance, there's no heat in the house. And the mattress is like mattress that smells like piss. Because I'm sorry to say this, my sister used to piss a lot on the bed that I was sleeping with her. When you go look at the television, it's a black and white television, but there's no remote control because at the time there wasn't. You have to use a fork to change the channel. And you look at the plug that you put on the television and it has tape on it because it's not in good condition. It could even cause you shock to put it to work. And when you're looking at my mother's working 2 jobs. She hardly has time to take care of me, my sister that we went to America with, and 2 other sisters that was there that was young at the time. So life is a little bit difficult. So what I basically was seeing was my mother was struggling in her own world while her 2 kids in Cape Verde was struggling in their own world. And I came to find out that my mother, she had to do the best she can with the 2 jobs that she had, working in the morning till about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Then she had to go again after making food for us. She had to go to another job that was until 12 o'clock at night. And this wasn't nothing easy for her.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So, like you said, parents 2 jobs, working 2 jobs, and it happens often around poor neighborhoods or poor families, especially a mother without her partner, so she has to work hard to raise kids and provide. So she's not going to be around, she's not going to be available even though she wants to. And that's another thing we want to focus on right now quickly, is the fact that we're not exposing, we're not talking about the situation in a negative way, but we want to shed light into this whole story to understand that it's out of respect, actually, that you're describing the situation as was, so people can understand, again, as they listen to the interview, they will understand really, again, I'll keep saying it, why you did the things you did in so many ways is due to so many things, pieces missing in your life. So we need to really, again, focus on different parts. Your mother's going to work, working 2 jobs, no father. Tell us how it was, that whole process of going to school. You're 7 years old, you come from Cape Verde, you don't speak the language. It must have been hard. How was it going to school, dealing with kids, you being poor, obviously, that whole thing? How did you manage the situation?
Okay. Like I said, my mother was struggling working with 2 jobs. And another thing was that I didn't have a father. I had a father, but he wasn't a father to me or to my sister. And he wasn't there. So my mother was working alone, trying to take care of 3 girls and a son, which was me at the moment, who was 4 children. So I'm there, 8 years old. A lot of times I had to go eat food at my aunt's house because sometimes my mother didn't have enough time to prepare the food for us, because when you come from one job, you come in a rush to try to take care of the children at home. Next thing you know, the hour's up, you gotta go to the second job. And another thing was that at the time, I had a woman that used to take care of me. Her name was Dardinha. I don't know how to say it in English, so I'll say Dardinha. And while my mother was at work, I used to go to her house, and she used to live 2 houses away from my grandfather's house where I was living at. And she was an older woman, and she used to take care of me. When I go to her house, she used to give me like cereal to eat, give me milk, and give me other things. And she used to cheer me. She used to show me love. She used to hug me. She used to make me feel so special. And at the moment, she was an older woman, and her children and her grandchildren used to go to school. I at the time wasn't going to school. And one day when I went to go visit her at the house, I went and I called her name. I opened the screen door, I opened the regular door, I opened the door to the corridor. I went inside the house, I'm yelling for her everywhere, Dardinha, Dardinha, where are you? And at the time I was still 8 years old. In the end, I went to the kitchen and I opened the back door of the hallway, which leads to the stairs to go upstairs. And I'm looking at Dardinha, and she's there with a rope around her neck, and she actually killed herself. And I stayed there watching her for about 2 hours without moving. It's like I'm seeing this lady, there's no movement in her, there's nothing happening to her. Why this lady had to die? She's my friend, she showed me love. Why isn't she a part of my life no more? And it hurt me. And I remember somebody coming in the house after about 2 hours, they said, take this kid out of here, he's too young to see these things. And I remember that part of my life was a shock to me, because a person that started showing me love just disappeared out of my life from one moment to the other.
Wow. Let's focus a little bit on that situation as we did last time. Because you're a kid and you're growing up around these weird situations, these very difficult situations. You walk in and this lady has just committed suicide, and there's somebody that you trust, you are getting closer to. You're in a new country. How did that make you feel as a child? Because I'm asking only because it's a traumatic situation. This is just humongous. It's too big for us to just kind of just skip over and keep talking. Like, how did it make you feel to just not just seeing somebody just hanging there and just committed suicide, but somebody that you're getting close to? Talk to us on this issue a little bit more.
To be honest with you, when I saw that lady and she became a good friend, she became like a second mother to me, because I said that my mother went to work, she didn't have enough time to watch me and my sister, so this lady became like my second mother. And after showing me so much love, and then one day I just see her there hanging there dead, it shocked me so much. It caused a lot of pain to me, and it brought a lot of hurt into me. And all I did was holding the pain. It's like I don't have nobody to talk to take it out, because first of all, I did not know how to do that, how to take the pain out.
Yes.
So it was like the only thing I could do was hold it in and just make the best of the situation at the time.
Wow. But it must have been traumatic. Like I said, it's just life-changing situation that these images they're stuck in your head. They stay stuck, ingrained in your conscious or your subconscious throughout your life. When you keep seeing these horrible scenarios just being played out right in front of you, because most of us just see these scenes in movies and we call them horror movies, but you're living these situations, these circumstances, and you're growing. As you're growing, tell us some more. How was your whole academic, like that school vibe, that scenario? How'd you deal with kids not speaking English from a different country, foreign country? How did you manage that situation?
Well, after that situation that shocked my life with the lady that showed me so much love be taken out of my life, it caused a lot of pain and hurt. And eventually, that very same year, which was 1981 at the time, I went to school, and I remember that I was put into the 3rd grade. And I'm a child that never went to kindergarten, I never went to school in my whole entire life. And I'm over here, I'm being put in the 3rd grade because of the fact of my age. And I was put into a bilingual class, meaning that I'm a child that doesn't speak English. And my teacher, she was a woman that was a CAPEVERDEAN teacher. And I remember her name was Miss Pina. And during the whole year, she used to take care of us and teach us. And I'm over here, she'll tell me, for instance, to count numbers. And I used to tell her that I don't know how to count. I never went to school. Nobody ever taught me how to count. And then she'll say, boy buru, meaning that you're stupid. And she'll call me names. And the classmates will all just look at me and start making fun of me. And she used to hit me with the ruler on my hand. Sometimes she used to hit me on my body. It used to make me feel so sad that I'm a person that doesn't know nothing. How am I supposed to know something if nobody teaches me? And I remember the whole school year was all frustration, pain, and sadness. And I'm holding all this stuff in. Don't have nobody to give it to let it out. Because nobody is showing me, how you say it, the love that I want, except for my mother, for me to try to be open and be, how you say it, confidence enough to give my pain to somebody so that they can help me with. So the whole year I went through a struggle in the 3rd grade, and eventually I ended up getting kicked back that year. I didn't pass to the next year, and it hurt me a lot.
Wow. Because I was just trying to find Tupac lyrics for Dear Mama, because when you listen to Tupac's story in that song, for instance, when we talk about Dear Mama, a lot of times people just focus on the mother aspect because the song is called Dear Mama, but he describes that difficult situation. So when you're telling this story, it reminds me a lot of what he went through. Because when he says, ain't a woman alive that could take my mama's place, suspended from school and scared to go home. I was a fool with the big boys breaking all the rules. So I was kind of envisioning that part. Because we see kids going to school, having, a terrible time, bad grades, misbehaving, dropping out of school. And we don't understand these circumstances. We don't understand the reason why. So that's why I asked the question. And like you said, you described a situation where you were getting beat up by your teacher, which is illegal. It's against the law. But did anybody try to protect you? Because ever since the beginning, it seems like you're going through these unfair situations, but there's no one to help you out.
How do I say this? I remember I used to have my aunt. Sometimes I try to talk to her, but sometimes the words I used to say to her, it's like she would tell me, that's a part of being a child. You have to go through difficulties, and she'll tell me that if I do something wrong, I'm supposed to get beat up. But when you don't do nothing wrong and you're getting beat up, you ask yourself the question, why am I being put through all this situation knowing that I didn't do nothing? If I did something wrong, yeah, hit me, but I didn't do nothing wrong. So I'm looking at this person. She's an educator, she's a teacher, and she's supposed to teach you to make you to be a person that at those young years of life you're gonna need future-wise to help you to be a person that you're gonna be in life. But when you're looking at this lady and she's telling you things like you're stupid, you'll never amount to be nobody, and you're doing things and it's making you feel hurt for the fact that she's telling you words that's not gonna encourage you to go forward and do things to make you be a better person, it's very hurting words. Once again, all these things, I'm holding it in. I wanna take it out, I wanna share with other people. It's like I don't find the confidence in seeing the person that I need to talk to let it out. So it's all staying in.
Building up frustration. And as you're growing, you get more frustrated. There's no outlet where you can release all this energy. So it's staying inside. So let's keep going. And how was it after that? Like, did it get better? Any better?
Well, like I said, I was kicked back that year. I didn't pass. Once again, I went to the 3rd grade. I remember it being in Condon School in South Boston. I repeated the 3rd grade, but thanks to God. I say thanks to God because if I was to get the same teacher, she probably would have did the same thing. I got another teacher, which one day, the teacher calls me at the chalkboard, or how you say, the blackboard. And she asked me a question. She said, Joaquim. I said, yes, teacher. She said, I need you to count. How much is 1 and 1? I said, teacher, I don't know how much is 1 and 1. She said, you don't know 2 and 1, how much it equals to? I said, I don't know. Nobody ever taught me. And the last teacher that I had, the only thing she used to do was try to teach me in the wrong way. And she used to hit me when I didn't know how to answer because I never went to school. I never was taught nothing. So how can I answer something I don't know? So she told me that it's sad that I told her those words. And I remember looking at her face. She felt so sad for me. And she said, okay, I'm going to have patience with you and I'm going to teach you how to count. That 2 and 1 equals 3. That if you get 2 apples and you put another apple, it equals to 3. And I remember smiling and laughing. I said, okay, now I'm beginning to understand how things work. And at the end, she had so much patience with me that at the end of the year, I was able to pass for another year, and I went to the 4th grade.
And let's keep going. How was it after that? Like, what happened? Because we're building up to the moment that will lead us to your teenage years. And that's where it gets kind of critical.
Once again, I passed to the 4th grade, and there was a lot of kids that used to bully me in the 4th grade. And I remember there was a kid named the same name as mine, Joaquim. He was fatter, he was bigger, he was stronger. He used to do a lot of things to me that didn't let me concentrate on doing my work. And one day, I told my teacher, which was Miss Lorenzo, I said, Miss Lorenzo, Joaquim's not letting me do my work, and every day he's always spitting, he spitballs at me in the back of the neck, and he's not letting me concentrate. Can you please tell him to stop? And the more I tell her, she's not doing nothing about it. One day I remember Joaquim used to sit behind me, and I got all this anger from the Adina dying, me going through so much struggle with my past teacher, and I got all this hurting inside of me, all this frustration. I'm looking at Joaquim, he got his hand on top of the table. I remember having a pencil in my hand. I turned around, I stuck it in his hand, and he started screaming. And eventually, they took us to the principal's office, and they called my mother, and they expelled me from school for 3 days. But all of that could have been stopped. I complained, nobody did nothing.
Wow. Nobody helping you out. You're going through life, having to face hardships, but nobody's coming to help. There's no guardian angels for you, and you still have to manage through as a kid. So, what happened after that? You get suspended Now you can tell us, like, it seems like things are getting more difficult. It's not getting any better. Things are getting rough for you. There's no breaks. You're not catching any breaks right at this point. So what happened afterwards?
Yeah. My whole wish was there for things to get better, but things didn't get better for me. Like I said, I passed from the 4th grade to the 5th grade, which was in off Columbia Road in Dorchester, and the school was named the Russell School. I went there, and I remember I loved it, that school, so much, because there was a girl that used to sit next to me, and her name was Sherry Roberts. I was a young kid at the time. I'm 11 years old, but I'm in love with a young white American girl that was so beautiful. It was like I had a purpose for going to school every day. And I remember that year I came to find out that I was very good at math, and I'm over here doing math work, and I'm getting honors for the week for being the best in math in school. I'm going to school every day. Things are going okay, but I'm still being bullied. I got this white kid named Peter. He's over here bullying me every day. I got another one named Milton. He lives close to my house. He's chasing me, trying to take my food every day, until that day that my uncle saw me running away from him. And my uncle was like, "Why are you running from this kid?" I said, "Because every day all he wants to do is bother me. He's bigger than me, and he's bullying me every day. He wants to take my food. He's not letting me concentrate in school." Next thing you know, my uncle told me, "Put your backpack down. And you, Mr. Ildo, put your backpack down." And he said, "Joaquim, put your hands up." And I put my hands up, and he told me, "Beat him up." I just attacked the guy with all my frustration. I started punching him, kicking, and I'm 11 years old. Next thing you know, I saw the guy on the floor. All of a sudden, I get the name Roki. And that's where everything starts going. Now, I got the courage. I'm not running from people no more. I got the courage because I see the first person I fought with, I won the battle, and I'm saying, okay, if other people come to me, I know what to do. And my uncle used to teach me, if they're bigger than you, you put a rock in your hand and you put sand in the other hand. You either kick them in their nuts or you throw the sand in their eyes, and then you take it from there. So this was taught to me, but he could have taught me better ways. You're not supposed to fight. There's better ways to do things. So this is what I'm being taught at a young age, how to go about my situations. And I remember another thing. I had an uncle that was selling drugs, and he used to give me drugs to watch for him while he's selling it. He would tell me, "You watch that drug, make sure nobody touches that drug. If you see the cops, you stay a little bit over there, but make sure that nobody touches it while I'm on the other side. I'm selling the drugs." And at the time, he was selling heroin.
Wow. So, from this point forward, you're being attacked, you're being bullied, and you're being coached on how to protect yourself. But nobody's telling you any rational way of dealing with conflict, because you're living in an environment where everything is violent and you have to defend yourself, and you got adults teaching you a violent way of protecting yourself, and you're growing through life learning these skills. No communication skills, no conflict resolution skills, just straight up violence. So how did your life pin up after that? Like, you learning these things? Tell us some more about you growing up as a teenager per se.
As of this time, I remember I was working, selling newspaper. I started selling newspaper at the age of 10. And it wasn't only me. There was a bunch of other children that was Cape Verdeans that was in America, that went from Cape Verde to America just like me. And we used to wake up around 4:30 in the morning, and we start working at 5:30. But we're working in the winter, December, January, February, March, very cold time. And we're selling newspaper from 5:30 to 7:30. And I remember my hands used to be so cold, they used to be like this. And at times I had to go like to a restaurant nearby where I'm selling newspaper to buy hot chocolate to help me with the cold, because it's too cold. And at the age, I'm too young to even be selling newspaper, but I was doing that to help my mother that was going through a difficult time, because having to work and she don't have no education, she's not gonna get paid the money that she deserved to get paid. And I believe that she was getting paid under minimum wage. Because I remember the fact us going to churches, St. Patrick Church on Columbia Road, to go give food every Thursday to help us at the house, because the money that she was getting paid was not enough to help us with the food. and the situation was very difficult. So at the time I'm working, I'm getting paid about $75. I used to bring the money to my mother, and I asked if it's possible to open a bank account for me to put a little bit of money there, and the rest that she could keep it. In the end, my mother came to tell me that she didn't save the money for me, that all those years that she was the one that was feeding me and my sisters. And it hurt me because I was thinking that maybe if she put a little bit of money on the side, it would encourage me more to work, and one day maybe I could buy a bike or buy a little something to make me feel happy, to give me encouragement to want to keep working. And in the end, at this time, I went from 10, 11, 12, I'm on 13. I went from 5th grade because I graduated from 5th grade. I graduated straight grade A student, not missing one day from school. So I was very in love with school. One of the purpose was that I was very good at math, and I'm getting presents, meaning the certificate of being a good child every week nearly. And because of the fact that I had that little young girl that I was liking, it gave me a purpose to keep going forward. Now I'm in the 6th grade. I'm over there at McCormick School in Columbia Point, and at that time I'm 13 years old. I started hanging around with childhood friends, which eventually showed me marijuana, that if I smoke it, it'll elevate me and make me feel big, make me feel courage, make me do things that I wouldn't normally do. And I remember the first day I was smoking it, they gave it to me to take 2 puffs, and I smoked it. I pulled nearly half of one thing like this on one poke. And I hold it in because they told me to hold it in. Afterwards, I took it out, I started coughing, and I started saying, yo, where's everybody at? I'm not seeing nobody. And at that time, I started stealing bikes, 13 years old. I'm drinking, I'm smoking cigarettes, I'm smoking marijuana, because I'm around people that showed me love. And I'm thinking in my mind that this is true love, because I'm looking for love. I'm not finding it elsewhere. So I'm thinking to myself, this is where love is. This is the way that things is done. So I'm just gonna follow this path because they're showing me money, they're giving me pizza, the money is helping me to go play video games, it's making me feel happy. So I'm thinking this is what is right. So I go forward, and in the end, I came to be in the 7th grade. I'm in the 7th grade. I started working. I'm still selling newspaper. I told my boss that I'm not liking school no more. Can I stay longer till 9 o'clock and not work no more? Not work no more, not go to school no more? He said, yeah, if you want to. And I remember he said, okay, you're gonna go from the amount that you're selling to 200 papers, and I got a nice place for you to sell. You're gonna sell all your papers, you're gonna win more money. And I started getting tips. I said, okay, I'll be able to help myself, be able to help my mother more. But at the same time, I'm leaving school, which they say education opens doors. And now I'm not getting the education that I need to open doors, but I got a boss that's not worrying about my education. He's more worried about his money. So I'm working from 5:30 to 9 o'clock selling newspaper, and eventually I started doing things that a child that's supposed to be in school, like I said, I'm smoking weed, I'm drinking alcohol, and I'm giving money to people that's 21 and over to go buy the alcohol, and they actually take the money and go to the liquor store because I'm too young to buy it, and they buy it for me, and me and my friends are drinking it. And this is how things started unrolling to me being the person that I eventually come to turn future-wise.
Wow. You have a boss who's an adult, you're telling them you're planning on quitting school, and he said, yeah, fine. You're looking at profit, like how you can make money. That's crazy, that's madness. Most kids won't even contemplate this. This is a summer job where it's a quick kind of thing, but not quitting school to earn money, and you don't have parents, you don't have nobody around to tell you otherwise, and you got these friends of yours, and you're drinking and you're smoking, you're doing all kinds of crazy things as a early preteen or a teenager. Again, it's madness, man, straight up madness. And it's building up to a chaotic situation that will unfold later on. So let's keep going again. How did it get after that? Because apparently it's gonna get worse. It's building up to, again, a critical situation.
Like I said, I'm in the 7th grade. I drop out of school. I'm smoking marijuana. I'm drinking alcohol. I'm smoking cigarettes. I'm hanging around people that's doing all kinds of stupid stuff. I'm stealing bikes. I'm starting to break car windows to get change in it, to get other things, like if I see a computer or a camera or a phone or anything that'll help me to make money to take care of my marijuana habit that I have. I'm working, but eventually I'm smoking so much, the money that I get from work and giving my mother and the rest that I stay with is not enough for me, because I remember me being a kid that didn't have the essential things like a Puma and Adidas or a Nike or clothes that other kids had when they was in school. So when I go to school, these kids are making fun of me. I remember me having a pair of sneakers that had 5 stripes on it, and the Adidas would have 3 stripes. So I went home with a felter, with a marker, and I painted the last one and the first one, and I left the other 3, and I designed the flower of Adidas in the back. And I'm going to school saying to myself, now I got Adidas, I could blend in with the crowd, and these kids are like, ah, ha, 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 you got fake Adidas, you got May 100, and you're over here doing this. And I remember that not having the clothes because my mother didn't have the money to buy me the clothes that other children have, so I could blend in and feel wanted just like the other kids. And it was very difficult. I ended up starting stealing sneakers that was being dried on porches. I started stealing clothes that was being dried. Other times I would climb up to like 2nd, 3rd floor, 4th floor porches to steal these things. And I remember going to school and everybody's looking at me like, okay, Rocky got good clothes now, Rocky got good sneakers, now we could accept him, he's a part of us now. But at other times I wasn't wanted because I didn't have these things that these other children had. I cannot blame my mother because my mother tried to do the best she can with the economy that she had at the time. Like I said, my main objective is just to let people know what I went through in life to get me to where I got to. And I just want to let people know that life isn't what it seems until you get to put your feet in the person's shoes for you to understand the person instead of pointing the finger at the person.
Wow. Well, again, a lot of commentary that we got from our people, let me call them that, our followers. I don't like using that term, followers, but our brothers and sisters. It's really what you just said. It put it in a focus, because a lot of them are being inspired by your story. Like you said, you're not saying these things just to talk about, badly about your family or your parents or none of that. You're telling a story to inspire people, and it is inspiring a lot of people because now they can relate. They really know, or at least to a certain degree, they understand how difficult it is in the world for a lot of people, especially you, telling that story. And we're accomplishing our objective pretty much when they listen to these stories, when they listen to your story. And we can't really emphasize that enough, that we're getting there.